welcome to my guest bedroom. Today I am not sharing a Christmas video. I know, Hermione, are you feeling okay? What's going on? Are you alright? I'm fine. Today I'm actually bringing you a bit of a hybrid video. I've got 3 easy room decor DIY ideas, but I'm also styling the space that I'm going to put them in because this room had a little bit of a move around recently. I'm not doing a full makeover, just restyling a few areas because it needed a bit of TLC. Long story short, I switched the bed and the wardrobe around because the wardrobe was blocking a lot of the sunlight, but then I found that the room was a bit messy and there was nothing above the bed and it wasn't styled as nicely as I had it. So let me show you what it looked like before the transformation.
This is what the bedroom's currently looking like. Not quite as nice as when I last finished it. As you can probably tell, this is a bit of a mess and needs a good old restyling. The bed is now on this wall and it makes such a difference. And excuse the mess while I work on the space, but the wardrobe is now over here. Without the wardrobe here, a lot more light can come in and the room just feels a lot more open as well with the new setup. The wardrobe was covering up the unsightly cover-up job of the open fireplace. I will sort that area at some point, but I'm guessing it's going to be quite expensive, so not right now. But even then, this side of the wall looks a little bit more rough around the edges. So my plan is to put something up here to cover it up. Oh, and I do have a new addition. This chest of drawers was given to me by a friend. Her family were clearing out her grandpa's bits, so they offered it to me to do a project with. With the headboard here, it's really handy because I can't have any bedside tables. And how nice would this look painted in this lilac colour?
So as you can see, the room needed a little bit of help. It wasn't as nice and styled as it was when I first finished the makeover. And the first thing I really wanted to tackle was the area above the bed because as you can see, the wall was a bit bumpy. I'd love to get it plastered one day, but not right now. So to cover that up, I decided to do a gallery wall above the bed. Decor are actually partnering with me on this video, which is awesome because I really love Decor. I've worked with them before and I love their prints. They have so many cool things. So I was really excited to work with them and create a gallery wall in this space. So of course, I don't just want to share with you a gallery wall, I do have a few sneaky DIYs as well that also made it up onto the wall. But first, I want to show you all of the prints and how I sorted it out.
And before I forget, between the 26th to the 28th of November, you can use the code HERMIONECHANTAL to get 40% off of prints for their Black Weekend event.
Before ordering my prints, I dragged and dropped loads of images of the prints I really liked into Photoshop. Please excuse my terrible Photoshop skills, I'm not that brilliant, but I really wanted to just mess around with the sizes of the prints, the ones I liked, and different combinations to see what would go on the blue background. This is obviously a very bold colour, and I wanted to make sure the prints were going to complement the room. This was really helpful even if you don't have any Photoshop skills. Making a gallery wall is really hard because you want to make sure that everything is going to be cohesive and have a really nice flowing theme. However, I had a minor problem. When I did this, it was actually for that wall over there when the bed was in place there. So I was playing with a much larger area and then I did decide to switch things around. So now I've got a smaller space where the chimney breast is to add my print. This meant that I ended up with too many prints and I didn't really know what to do with them. So I had to redesign the whole gallery wall. But because I'd already gone with a theme and all the frames that I liked, it was really easy. I laid everything out on the bed. I was deciding between 2 large prints or a gallery wall style, but the gallery wall won in the end. And then I had to go and install it. Because I wasn't working with lots of different sizes and shapes of frames, it was really easy, so I just measured as I went. However, if you do want to see a version where I cut everything out of paper, I will leave my other gallery wall project below and you can check that out because that's a different way to do it. It took quite a while to put everything up, but I was really happy with it when it was finished. Before I show you the finished result, I want to show you the projects that I actually made for the wall. The first is this looped cane frame. I used 2 Decor frames for this and it was really easy to make, so here's how I did it.
To make this project, you'll need some cane webbing. I found this on Amazon. Now this was £15 for only 18 by 18, but it's the only place I could find it in the UK. So it is a bit of a pricey craft, but it does make a big impact. As you can see just then, I did arrange my frames to make sure they'd fit how I wanted them. And then using some super glue, I took the backing off and then glued in the plexiglass, whatever it's called, to make sure that it wasn't going to fall out without the backing in place, because you want to get rid of the backing because we're going to have cane webbing there instead. Make sure this is firmly placed down and left to dry for a few hours, and then take your piece of webbing and cut any excess off the edges of it. I'd used a little bit of this for another project, but the rest of it was going in the frame. So to try and get this to stick in the frame, I did use a few methods. I tried the super glue, but it just didn't seem to stick. No matter what I put on top of it to hold it in place, it didn't work. In the end, I just tried hot glue and then pushed the webbing into the glue, and this worked perfectly well. So now it was time to stick the front frame onto the piece. I'm using these picture hanging strips to do this, so that if I did want to take it apart one day and reuse the frames, that I could. Make sure you put your picture in now before you place it down, because you don't want to realize that you've placed it down and not put the picture. Anyway, I cut these down, stuck them on the back, and then very gently placed it in the center of the frame, pressing firmly to make sure it wasn't going to go anywhere. And voila, we have a cane webbing frame. All that was left to do was hang it up on the gallery wall.
With that done, I wanted to add an element of something slightly different to my gallery wall. So I wanted to make a really minimal wall hanging. And this one I made actually based on an earring that I saw on Pinterest. I just made it really big. So here it is.
For this project, I used a metal hoop. This was once again from Amazon. You can get these quite inexpensively online. And then I'm using two different wools, a thick chunky white wool and a thinner black wool. So to do this, I'm creating some tassels, but I'm only creating 3 loops for each tassel. So I'm wrapping them around a notebook, cutting the wool off, pulling it off the notebook, and then as you can see here, I pushed the loops underneath the metal hoop, keeping them intact, and I pulled that top hoop over, grabbed the underneath one and pulled it really tightly. I did this a few times, and I actually think that for this kind of project I like an uneven number, so I think, did I do it 7 times or 9 times? I don't know. We'll see when I show you the final footage, but I just repeated this process multiple times until I had enough. Now to add some detail with the black wool, I'm going around the loops that I made, and I'm just tying this into place so that it's not going to go anywhere. Once that was done, I wrapped the black wool around each loop about 7 or 8 times. I also wanted each of the tassels to be attached to each other, so to do this, for the first wrap of each new tassel, I created a figure of 8, attaching it to the last one about 3 or 4 times, and then continued wrapping around as you saw me doing before. So I just continued this process for all of them, connecting them all together, making sure that they were nice and tight. And then to tidy up the ends, I took some scissors and cut through all of the loops that I'd made, and then gave it a bit of a haircut, making sure that it was pretty much even. I mean, it's quite difficult to make it a perfect straight line, but I tried my best. And then all that there was left to do was to hang it onto the wall, so I just used a nail and a hammer and added it to my gallery wall.
And I didn't want to just leave you with 2 DIYs, so I whipped up a throw cushion cover that was really fun. It's a DIY I've been planning to make for a really long time, so here's how I did it.
I'm using a white textured fabric for this because I want it to look a little bit rough. so I wanted it to be less pristine, if that makes sense. Now, to cut the cushion to size, I did this by taking an old cushion cover and measuring it, giving myself seam allowance on either side. I'm going to put the instructions on screen here to show you exactly what I did. I doubled the cushion size, then added an extra few inches, and then added my seam allowance. I've made this kind of cushion so many times on my channel before. It's kind of like an envelope fold cushion, so you don't need to add any fixtures or fittings. I then hemmed the short sides of the cushion to make sure there was a nice straight line, because this is where it's going to ultimately close. And annoyingly, I didn't press record on my camera, but basically I just folded each side of the cushion onto itself with a bit of an overlap, and then I sewed down each of the edges. And if you don't want to make the cushion cover, don't worry, you can always buy one and then add the detail to the front of it, because this DIY is all about the detail on the front. And to create that, I used 3 long pieces of the same fabric. I cut them down into strips, but don't worry if these are a little bit bumpy or not the same size, because that is the idea. We're kind of going for a messy, sort of disheveled look for this. I mean, if you want to make it nice and tidy, by all means, but that's just not the look I was going for. So I joined the 3 together at the top with my sewing machine, and then I just started plaiting in, you know, a regular plait format, and kept doing that all the way to the end. With my plait done, I had something that looked a bit like this. I made 2 of them, and then I sewed them onto the front of the cushion cover. I'm hand sewing this because it's quite thick, so I don't want to have to send it through my sewing machine. Here's how it turned out. As you can see, it's just a fun little detail on the front of the cushion, and it just reminds me of something that you might see sort of on Urban Outfitters or one of those trendy home decor websites. So now let's go on to the styling before I show you how it all turned out.
With that done and the final touches added to the bedroom, here is how it turned out. I'm really pleased with the way this looks now. I think it looks a lot brighter and airier in here because I switched around the bed and the wardrobe. And I think that's the thing with owning or renting a place. You put all of your furniture in when you first get in, and then a few months later you realize it's not practical, so you have to move things around. I'm also really pleased with the gallery wall. I think it makes a huge statement, and I really love the touches of pink. You probably all know how much I love the color pink, and I felt like this room was missing a little bit of that. So that is everything that I have to share in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Do let me know if you'd like to see more of these videos where I make the DIY ideas, but I also style them in the space as well. I think it's really fun, and it also gives me something to do when I'm not doing full room makeovers. So yeah, anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!